Welcome to a new test and teardown video. This time it's a really old and very rare decibelmeter. It's made in England by a company called RH Mince Baluns Ltd. And they're from Ewell, Surrey. Oh, let me get some light. Here we go. It's really hard to read because there's no contrast. This front plate here is almost white, and then they put in white text. But we can see it's a decibelmeter electronic. And then there is this iOS CA863 something. Maybe that is the number and all that kind of stuff. But look at that meter. Isn't that just amazing? And it covers 70 dB, the range. And it's also very heavy. It's 8.3 kilos. And it looks like it can run on 12 volts and 230 volt AC. Supply on, some fuses, and set 0. Calibration is there, and then you have a through or a 600 ohm termination. So this is probably a 1/4 inch jack and bananas, and that is more or less all there is to say about the front. Of course, I did a lot of googling around, and there was nothing at all to find. Well, the only thing I could find was a tiny little note about this RH Mince, this company, and it was closed in 1965. And I asked one of my friends for a little bit of Google help, and he found a picture of another one like this. So this proves this is not the last one in the world. So here at the back, we see those finger screws, and I think we have seen those before on English military equipment. And the same goes with those really weirdo power connectors. We have definitely seen them before on English military equipment from the 50s. It's actually that old, this connector. So we got some extra input, battery connector, and mains. I of course need to open and do a little bit deeper research. It's really beautiful inside. This meter is really big. But why is it so heavy? Look at this thick steel frame as well. And everything here is made really thick and heavy duty. So there's an isolation transformer on the input for a nice isolated balanced input. And that is the attenuator. So this definitely looks like audio frequency range. And then there's a connector here. Nice extra information about the connectors inside as well. Internal, external battery. And there's a power supply module. Again with a nice little connector here, so you can pull this somehow. And there's also a nice little label here. I'll have to pull this unit. Oh, also a Germanium transistor. And I found the little part that was floating around inside this unit. See? This little steel ball that was missing here for this switch. So I can probably repair this and put it back in. Nice to see that it's not lost. And here is the little amplifier and detector board. See, nice modern Germanium transistors. Quite a lot of transistors actually. 5, 6, they got named and numbered like that. 8, yeah, 8 transistors and a lot of capacitors. And look at the connectors, so we can easily pull this board and check it out a little bit. Yeah, I'm actually quite impressed. Yeah, look at that, the steel frame here. Oh, this is not falling apart. So of course I had to pull the power supply. So we can look at the little label here. Why is it so difficult to photo this shiny stuff? Serial numbers and type numbers and all that. And again, it's also from RH Mints. And see, there's a little transformer. We got some diodes, a few capacitors, and a little signal transistor. Most likely also a Zener. Yeah, exactly. We got some diodes and some more transistors down there. And a little voltage adjustment trimmer. But they forgot to make a hole here, so you can't really access. Probably not the smartest design. They didn't want you to adjust this. Yep, that is how it is so far. But I think I just want to see if I can repair this. Also, I figured out the case is not supported. Look at that. You can easily bend this case in. So when you put something, see, these are deeper than the sides. So that means you can easily hit this switch and then poke this out. So of course you need to rotate this somehow and rotate the knob. I think I want to see if I can do this, otherwise it makes really no sense to repair this because it's gonna break again. So that was a bad design. So I think this is how it should have been done. And now the little ball is in, and I rotated the switch quite a lot, so now the circuit board is really nice and beautiful designed. I really like the little details here, see? This is for your fingers, so you can easily grab near the connectors and much easier pull this up. How nice. And then it's a single layer board with the transistors like mounted upside down through holes in a little rubber, stick it through here. I mean, this is this is nice and beautiful quality of the circuit board. Look at the holes they drilled. Wrong holes in the circuit board to begin with, so that means when you let me see if I can try and plug this in, and then you can see what is happening here. See, and then you just push like that. Look at the holes. Oops. Isn't that just beautiful? Well, I'm not gonna lie, I also did something like this, but it's just, whoops, so this one is. So let's try and do the first power up together. Okay, nothing happened there, so this is good. And it's using only 1.3 watts, so that is not a lot. It's still moving a little bit and adjusting or whatever, it's warming up. And then we wait a little bit. I think I have, of course, connected a generator to the input, and I did not put in anything yet. So let's see if 0 dB, 600 ohms, and I didn't touch the 0 here. So what kind of standard is this? Of course I don't know. There is no data or anything. So this is, this is 1 volt RMS into 600 ohms. And let's see if we can remove all the reflections. It is plus 1 and 75 dB or something like that, right? Why can't we get this a little bit better? Here we go. So maybe I should change the... Let's try and see if I can poke around with this adjustment here. Oh. Ooh, this potentiometer here needs a little bit of... I would like to have this. Ah, man, I need to clean this. After a little bit of cleaning, it's probably gonna be around 0. How about that? And of course there's only a ±5 on the readout here. This is a little bit annoying because here we go, 10 dBs step here. So it's really, how do you measure? I don't understand. You know, if I go minus, okay, if I go, see? So this is probably supposed to be 10. And then we got some holes between here, right? ±5, and then, okay, so I don't know. It's a little bit stupid. We should have you know, overlaps. So here we go at minus 10 dB, and see, it's reading a little bit too much now. So I can of course move the signal generator in dBs as well, because it's a fancy smancy digital thingy. So if I go like 1, 2, 3 dB up, 1, 2, 3, and a little bit more, 4, 5, and then we move it here, and 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So it's of course not super duper accurate or anything like that, but what did you expect? but I think it sort of works. And of course also go the other way around. Let's see how many dB we can give this thing. I don't know, really. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. See, and then it's way off again. So of course those attenuators, they could use a little bit of working. And this is at, oh, let's test the frequency. Yeah, this is probably it. I'm working at 1 kilohertz. So let's see if this, the frequency range. So we are now back to 0 and 0. And then let's play with the frequency. So this is 1 kilohertz. Let's go up. Ooh, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kilohertz. Oh my God. So it's just crazy frequency dependent. 8, 9. Oh, look at that. The attenuator don't work at all. It's just perfectly. Whoa. Now we need definitely to frequency compensate this. Let's go back to 1 kilohertz again. So let's play with going down. So this is 500. Okay, so that is not the problem when we go down. And 100. Okay, so let's go down to 50 hertz. Okay, let's go down to 10 hertz. You can even see the needle is moving. Okay, so this thing definitely loves low frequencies. 5 hertz, and then it goes in vibration modes. 4, 3 hertz, and then you have it. Well, look at that. This is 5 hertz, and it's very, very close to accurate. Let's go back to 10. Here we go again. All right, so now we know how this thing works. The only thing that I really could use is a little bit of light in this one. I should probably fix this. Maybe it's only lit when you're running on batteries. I'm running on mains. That is something I will play around with. Aren't they just cute? A tiny little bulb, and it's reading 14 volts. Yeah, look at that. Oh, I don't think I have one of these. I should really show the sizes of those bulbs side by side here. So that will be the normal ones that you know from almost anything. Those are just tiny. Oops. Of course I find another one, but it is with a much longer glass part. So I don't know if this will fit. And there's actually also another little trick to show you. You probably know these little rubber bulb tools. This one is from the EAO switches. You use those to pull out those bulbs. They normally look like this. So you stick this like that, and then you can pull them in and out and all that. But of course, look at that. See? Now we can just handle this bulb nice and easily. You can of course use many other tools, but oh man, look at that. It sticks out way too much. So I don't think I can put on this. Oops. It's probably gonna touch the glass or something. Ooh, it's not looking to. Let's see if it works or not. Let's dim the light a little bit. I got a whole table here full of bulbs and whatnot. Hey, but it's a little bit bright, isn't it? But I think I will add a little resistor. This is crazy bright. So that was easy. I just put in a 68 ohms in series with the bulb, and now it is perfectly fine. There's also another little thing to note. When you put in a series resistor to your bulbs, of course you dim them, but also the startup current is greatly reduced, and this lengthens the life significantly. So this is a very good trick if you're tired of changing bulbs in some of your old vintage equipment. So thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you soon again. Bye bye.